He wasn't a general. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't a whistleblower. He was an Argentinian painter. That's it. But in the 1930s, decades before it happened, he drew two towers falling behind the Statue of Liberty. And he wrote this, I quote, "The liberty of North America will lose its light. Its torch won't shine like yesterday. It will be attacked twice." He saw the invention of in vitro fertilization. He predicted a bearded revolutionary who would set fire to the Caribbean. He sketched the first living creature to be launched into space before the space race even existed. And then, one day in the 1960s, he sat down on a bench in Buenos Aires. And that's when they came for him. Not the government, something else. He wasn't guessing. In 1939, 62 years before it happened, he sketched the Statue of Liberty, her flame dimmed, her crown cracked. Behind her, two towers crumbling. And the caption, "It will be attacked twice." Another drawing, a figure gesturing to an embryo inside a glass vessel. The note, "Artificial motherhood cultivated." That was 1938. The first in vitro fertilization, that didn't happen for another 40 years. He drew a dog flying through space. He drew men in strange suits standing on the moon in the 1940s. And when people asked him how he knew, he said the messages came from them. He never named them. But in the mid 1960s, sitting alone on a park bench in Buenos Aires, they came to him. He described two beings, tall, glowing eyes, no pupils. They didn't speak, they transmitted. They told him, "We have several chosen ones. You are one. We will meet again." He blacked out, woke up back on the bench, hours gone. And here's the part that rattles. He went back to drawing, only now his sketches were darker, sharper, more accurate. So I'm asking the question no one wants to. What if Benjamin Solari Paravicini wasn't predicting the future? What if he was leaking it? Real quick, before we go any further, this channel doesn't run on ad dollars or brand deals. It runs on you. If you want to help keep the lights on and the rabbit holes open, please hit subscribe. It's free, and yeah, it makes a huge difference for the channel. All right, let's keep going. Let's start here. Benjamin Solari Paravicini was a classically trained painter in Argentina. Quiet guy, respected, exhibited in galleries. He taught art. Not a mystic, not a recluse, not someone waving signs at the end of the world. And then something shifted. In the 1930s, he started creating what he called psychographies, drawings, yes, but not illustrations, visual downloads, each one accompanied by a short phrase, sometimes a sentence that read more like a riddle than a statement. He said they came to him without thinking, as if his hand was moving without him. He'd go into a trance, black out, come to, and on the page, a scene, a warning, a flash of a future that hadn't happened yet. And what's weird, he wasn't the first. History's been littered with figures who claim to receive knowledge they shouldn't have had. Nostradamus with his quatrains, Edgar Cayce with his dream transcriptions, even Philip K. Dick, who believed the Valis, some sort of non-human intelligence, was beaming ideas into his head. Paravicini fits into that same mold, but sharper, because his drawings are visual. There's no language barrier, no interpretive fog. You can see what he saw, which makes what happened next even more unnerving. The things he drew started to happen in real life, decades later. This wasn't just another eccentric mystic scribbling cosmic poetry. This was a man who, by all accounts, was tuned into something. And maybe the more accurate word isn't prophet. Maybe it's leak. Let's talk about the drawing. It shows the Statue of Liberty, head bowed, torch dark, and in the background, two buildings, tall, rectangular, torn open from above. And the handwritten caption: The liberty of North America will lose its light. Its torch won't shine like yesterday, and the monument will be attacked twice. That sketch was dated 1939, not 2000, not September 10th of 2001, 1939. People say it's coincidence, that it's a stretch. Sure, if it were the only one. But then there's the one of a bearded man standing over a map of the Caribbean. He's raising one arm like a leader rallying troops. And next to him, head of a beard will seem holy, but it won't be. He will ignite the Antilles. That from 1937. Fidel Castro doesn't rise until the 1950s. The Cuban Revolution doesn't hit full force until 1959. And then there's this one, a fetus floating inside a glass container. Not symbolic, literal. Next to it, the words, artificial motherhood cultivated. That's 1938. The first successful in vitro fertilization didn't happen until 1978 in England, 40 years later. You still think it's coincidence? Okay, here's another. A dog wearing a harness, Laika, the first animal in space, was launched by the Soviet Union in 1957. But Paravicini drew her before she was even selected. Not a dog, the dog. And here's the thing. These weren't vague poetic stanzas you can twist into any modern event. These are visual records, frozen frames from a movie we hadn't seen yet. So that raises the question, did Benjamin Paravicini see the future, or did he access it? Not with a telescope, not with a guess, but with some kind of feed, some open line into a stream of data that wasn't his. Which makes you wonder, was he watching a timeline or leaking one that had already happened? It was the 1960s. Paravicini was older now, still drawing, still claiming the visions came from somewhere else. But he never said who or what, until one night. He was sitting alone on a bench in Buenos Aires. No sketchbook, just air, just silence. And then he wasn't alone. He described it later as a sudden brightness, not blinding, just impossible. Light from nowhere. Two beings stood in front of him, humanoid, but not. Glowing white eyes, no pupils, no mouth movement. They didn't speak, they transmitted. And they told him this: We have several chosen ones. You are one. We will meet again. That's all he remembers. The next thing he knew, he was waking up, still on the bench, hours gone. No memory, no explanation. He'd had what we now call missing time. He tried to brush it off, but his drawings changed after that. The lines were sharper, the messages darker, more urgent, and somehow more accurate. So let's not dance around it. That sounds like an abduction event. It sounds like a classic contact encounter, the kind we've heard from Betty and Barney Hill, from Whitley Strieber, from countless others whose stories don't fit polite conversations. Except Paravicini wasn't pulled from his bed or yanked off a road. He was already open, already receiving. This, whatever it was, didn't need to abduct him. He was already on the channel. Which brings up a disturbing possibility. What if he wasn't just a sensitive? What if he was a test subject? Part of an experiment, a probe? What if Paravicini was plugged in on purpose by something non-human? Not to warn us, but to see what would happen when a human leaked the truth in plain sight. Through art. Not official channels, not academia, not science. Just one man with a pen and a connection he never asked for. So let's flip the table. What if Paravicini's drawings weren't predictions at all? What if they were deliveries? What if someone or something was trying to leak sensitive intelligence, but had to disguise it in the most discreditable format possible? Art. Think about it. If you're an intelligence operative or a non human entity or something in between, and you want to get information out without triggering containment protocols or global panic, you don't post it in a newspaper. You don't hold a press conference. You hand it to a guy no one will take seriously, a painter, a weirdo, a prophet. And what you get is plausible deniability in both directions. If it comes true, people say, wow, creepy coincidence. If it doesn't, they say, well, he was nuts. But the real payload, it's already out there. And if that sounds far-fetched, let's look around. Modern intel agencies have run psychological ops using memes, ARGs, alternate reality games, and viral image drops as ways to condition behavior, launder narrative, or just test public reaction. We've seen fake leaks used to trace real insiders, symbolism used to track Psyop payloads, digital red herrings seeded to confuse both enemies and civilians. It's the same playbook, just now it's GIFs and TikToks instead of charcoal and ink. So here's the question that should bother you. Was Benjamin Paravicini a prophet or a courier? Was he carrying messages across dimensions, timelines, or agencies without even knowing it? Was the weirdness the point? Because let's be honest, if he'd been a general, a scientist, or a politician, we would have buried the message immediately. But a quirky old artist with a wild imagination, that slips under the radar until the drawings start coming true. Then it's too late. If we take Paravicini at his word, if we accept that he didn't guess but received, then we have to ask the most dangerous question of all. Who or what was sending? Let's break down the most plausible theories. First, an alien upload, an ultra-terrestrial messaging. The simplest explanation, if you're already floating in the deep end, is that the feed came from non-human intelligence. Not aliens, in the Hollywood sense, think ultra-terrestrials, dimensional entities, observers outside of time, messengers with just enough of a hands-off policy to not intervene directly, but enough investment to send signals. And why him? Maybe he was a match. Maybe he was tuned to the right frequency. Or maybe he was one of many. 2. A time loop leakage. Maybe echoes from a post-collapse future. So now it gets existential. What if these weren't messages being sent? What if they were leaking? Imagine a future civilization trying to send data backward through time. A Hail Mary broadcast from a dead timeline. The target wasn't him, it was anyone who could receive it. Paravicini just happened to be open. And the images? Maybe they weren't prophecies. Maybe they were post-mortems. Snapshots from a collapsed world drifting back through the cracks. Number 3. Black Ops Psi experiments in Argentina. Okay, so let's bring it back to Earth. The Cold War didn't just run through Washington and Moscow. It ran through Latin America, hard. Argentina was a hotbed of military intel, fascist networks, and deep state operations in the mid-20th century. Now pair that with the decades later revelations of MKUltra, a US project that literally tried to weaponize psychic ability, remote viewing, mind control, and non-local perception. What if Paravicini wasn't unknowingly swept into an early experimental version? They wouldn't have needed to drug him. They just needed to watch, record, and see how long he could hold the signal. In the moment it got too real, disappear him quietly. Which brings us to number 4. He wasn't alone. There's this eerie pattern in stories like this. Someone starts receiving. They're dismissed, laughed at, ignored. And then nothing. They're gone. Or they spiral. Or they vanish under mysterious circumstances. So maybe Paravicini wasn't chosen because he was special. Maybe he was just one of a dozen, or 100 or more. And maybe the others didn't survive the message. Okay, so let's draw a hard line. There's a difference between conspiracy theories and a conspiracy record. So, what's real? First off, the drawings exist. They're not myths, not hearsay, not scrawled in the margins of a YouTube comment section. They're preserved, documented, archived. Many are time-stamped, some notarized, and most verified by independent researchers in Argentina and beyond. And they weren't released all at once. They came out over decades. Consistent tone, consistent style, consistent message. He never changed his story. He never contradicted himself. He never turned it into a business. Paravicini never monetized a single drawing. No book deals, no tours, no buy my Oracle course grift. That's rare, especially in the prophecy game. So yes, his predictions predate the events. And yes, they've been confirmed by multiple timelines and researchers, and no, he didn't gain anything from putting them out there. And that's where it gets unsettling, because here's what we can't explain. How did a man in the 1930s, no access to classified intel, no known training in espionage or physics, draw an attack on New York before skyscrapers had even hit the scale? How did he sketch in vitro fertilization decades before we even had a handle on embryology? How did he name specific outcomes, not metaphors? How did he know? And more importantly, why him? That's the question we always end up circling back to. Why do some people catch the feed? We don't claim to have the answer, but we don't look away either. This isn't a fantasy channel. This is the channel that chases the broken truths, the ones that slip through the cracks, refuse to be erased, and still haven't been explained. If something's fake, we'll say it. If something's sloppy, we'll burn it. But when something's this clean, this eerie, this wrong, we don't bury it, we investigate it. He didn't ask for this. He didn't go on tour, didn't preach, didn't try to start a movement. He drew. And when people asked him what it meant, he shrugged, said he didn't know, said it just came. But what if that's worse? What if he wasn't chosen because he had answers? What if he was chosen because he'd keep drawing even without them? He never tried to convince us, and maybe that's why it worked. Because while we were arguing about whether prophets exist, he was quietly sketching the next 50 years. Attack after attack, revolution after revolution. Technology we hadn't built yet, wars we hadn't fought yet, failures we hadn't even conceived of. And we ignored it. We laughed. We filed it under weird and moved on. Until the towers fell. Until the lab babies were born. Until the dog went up in orbit. Until we looked back at the sketchbook and realized he warned us and we didn't listen. So now ask yourself, what's already in someone else's drawer? What future has been sketched out, ignored, forgotten, because the messenger didn't wear a badge or a lab coat? What if the next signal is already out there? What if it's been out there and we're too busy looking away to realize we're living inside the drawing? If your brain's still intact after that, good. That means you're paying attention. I'm Ralph, this is Divergent Files, and yeah, we go to places the algorithm really wishes we wouldn't. If this episode hit you in the chest, or just made you wonder how the hell a painter in Argentina saw half a century into the future, smash that like button, subscribe, and drop a theory in the comments. Seriously, we have no sponsors, no corporate backing, just a camera, a script, and a refusal to look away. If you want more unfiltered deep dives, more cases like this, and to help keep this thing breathing, you can support the channel for as little as $3 a month at patreon.com/Divergent Files. You'll get early access, behind the scenes chaos, and the stuff too hot or too weird for the main channel. And yeah, we're not just on YouTube anymore. Divergent Files Project Podcast is live on every major platform. Long form breakdowns, off script episodes, and the gloves come all the way off. And if you've got a theory, a rabbit hole, or a case that's been haunting you, drop it in the comments below. I read every single one, and you never know, your idea might just be the next one we chase down. Listen, the world's strange, the stories even crazier. Thanks for showing up, thanks for sticking around, and as always, you are truly appreciated.